الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلوات الله وسلامه عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. All praises are due to Almighty Allah, the beneficent and merciful. We bear witness there is no God to be worshipped except Almighty Allah. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for all His blessings upon us day and night, and we seek Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to continuously guide us and protect us from all evil. We send our blessing to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whom Allah sent to be mercy to all humanity. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, my topic to you today, inshallah, will be about Al-Hudaybiyah. It will be about Al-Hudaybiyah. Al-Hudaybiyah actually is one of the events that happened in Islamic history by the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refers to that in Surah Al-Fatih. And Allah says, لَقَدْ رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ إِذْ يُبَيِّعُونَكَ تَحْتَ الشَّجَرَةِ فَعَلِمَ مَا فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ فَأَنزَلَ السَّكِينَةَ عَلَيْهِمْ وَأَثَابَهُمْ فَتْحًا قَرِيبًا. وفي آية أخرى الله سبحانه وتعالى says لَقَدْ صَدَقَ اللَّهُ رَسُولَهُ الرُّؤْيَا بِالْحَقِّ لَتَدْخُلُنَّ الْمَسْجِدَ الْحَرَامَ إِنْ شَاءَ اللَّهُ آمِنِينَ مُحَلِّقِينَ رُءُوسَكُمْ وَمُقَصِّرِينَ لَا تَخَافُونَ فَعَلِمَ مَا لَمْ تَعْلَمُوا فَجَعَلَ مِنْ دُونِ ذَلِكَ فَتْحًا مُبِينًا.
Whose vehicle is this? SUV? Yes, SUV in Suburban. Yeah.
Hey, you cannot talk while the khutbah is going on. Okay, let's go. Be quiet, sit down.
Hey, you're trying so much, man.
No, be quiet and sit down. Okay, you cannot talk while khutbah going on. Okay, let's go, sit down. Sit down, I said. Be quiet and sit
You
down.
talk too much.
Brother,
You talk too much.
have a
You
seat.
talk too much.
Have a seat, no problem. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is referring to this Hudaybiyah, the event of Hudaybiyah in the Quran, and Allah is saying to us, لَقَدْ رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ إِذْ يُبَيِّعُونَكَ تَحْتَ الشَّجَرَةِ. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pleased with the Muslimin when they are making treaty with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and making oath with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Quran is saying, إِذْ يُبَيِّعُونَكَ تَحْتَ الشَّجَرَةِ. When they are making covenant and treaty between you and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam under the tree, and they call it the tree of Ridwan, the treaty of Ridwan. فَعَلِمَ مَا فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what is in their heart. فَأَنزَلَ السَّكِينَةَ عَلَيْهِمْ. And He sent down to them tranquility and peace. وَأَثَابَهُمْ فَتْحًا قَرِيبًا. And He rewarded them with opening which is very, very clear. And brothers and sisters in Islam, the event of Hudaybiyah was started by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the 6th year of Hijrah. In the 6th year of Hijrah, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam saw a dream that he's going to go to Mecca and he's going to do Umrah. لَقَدْ صَدَقَ اللَّهُ رَسُولَهُ الرُّؤْيَا بِالْحَقِّ لَتَدْخُلُنَّ الْمَسْجِدَ الْحَرَامَ إِنْ شَاءَ اللَّهُ آمِنِينَ. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam saw in his dream that he's going to go to Umrah and he's going to be there Aminin with tranquility. Then he told the companions, and eventually about 1,400 people joined him to go to Hudaybiyah. And Hudaybiyah is about few miles to Mecca. Now, in order for that to happen, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam kept it secret. Then, when he was close to Mecca, he told one of his companions, his name is Bus bin Sufyan, to go and see what is going on in Mecca. To go and see what is going on in Mecca. And he went and he came back to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and he told that this Quraysh they were not ready for Muhammad Sallallahu to come to Mecca to do Umrah. But subhanAllah, in Arab culture, even before Islam came, whenever anybody went to Mecca and he or she wanted to do Umrah, he would be allowed to do so because it's in the sacred month of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. إن عدة الشهور عند الله 12 شهرا منها أربعة حرم. Allah said we have 12 months in Islamic calendar, and 4 of those 12 months are sacred months. So since Muhammad wanted to go to Umrah for that time, he knew for sure that nobody was going to stop him. And that's why he left to do that. Then unfortunately, Muslim came back and said the people of Mecca were not ready to let you do Umrah. So whatever be the case, when Muhammad was going, since it was the Ashur Guru, then he made put on Ihram, and his companions also put on Ihram. And they also have had means the animals that they going to sacrifice when they reach Mecca, then every one of them has his own hadi. To cut the story short, he reached that place which is called Khutbah, and then they didn't let him come in. So the Prophet ﷺ decided, maybe if I were to send another person to them, and he sent Uthman bin Affan, who was well known in Mecca before he became Muslim, and after he became Muslim, he sent Uthman to them to verify and to appeal to them so that they can allow Muhammad and his companions to make Umrah. So Uthman went, and then he didn't come back on time, and they suspected that maybe he was killed. And in Arab culture, even until today, ambassadors were not killed. Whenever somebody said, I'm the ambassador of so and so, they will not be killed. And subhanAllah, he came back, and he was not killed over there. However, before he came back, Muhammad spoke to the companions and said to them, my people, if Uthman were to be killed, then you have to give me confidence that we are going to fight them back, because the ambassadors should not be killed. And they gave him their word that they are going to support him to fight the different population. Even though they didn't go because of fighting. They didn't go because of fighting. And this is what is called Bay'atul Ridwan. So they were happy that Muhammad said he was going to fight them back. They gave him allegiance that whatever he wanted them to do, they would do that. So to cut the story short, Muhammad decided that since Usman was not killed, then he would send another delegation so that they can have what they call intermediary mediators between Muhammad and the Quraysh. So Muhammad invited the Quraysh to send their own delegation, and they sent a person, his name is Suhail bin Amr. So the ambassador of the Quraysh to meet Muhammad and decided whatever they are going to do. SubhanAllah, when that ambassador came, the Prophet said, today, if Quraysh asks me to give them anything, to compromise for anything, as long as they don't ask for something which is outrageous, which is against Islam, I'm going to give it to them. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم والذي نفسي بيده لا يسألونني قطة يؤذنون فيها حرمات الله إلا عطيتهم إياه. He says, by the God whose my soul is in his hand, the Quraysh will not ask me anything today, which is to protect and to glorify the sacredness of Mecca, except I will give it to them. And that was the promise from Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So he accepted from the beginning that he is going to make some compromises as long as it is not against Islam. As long as it is not against Islam. So therefore, the ambassador came and Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam met with the ambassador. And they agreed on 4 things, just to cut the story short. So the first thing they agreed upon was that Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam would not make Umrah that very particular year, and he should go back to Medina. And then next year, he may or he may not come. That very year, they will not allow him to make Umrah. And Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam agreed that even though the people of Mecca never prevented anybody to make Umrah during the time of Hajj, sacred month. Even their enemies, whenever they came through that sacred month, they would allow them to stay, even if they are fighting before, they will stop fighting and they will not attack him or cause any harm to him. But unfortunately here, the Quraysh said, Muhammad, we are not going to allow you to come to Mecca, and we are not going to allow you to do Umrah, and you and your people, you should go back to Medina. That's the first agreement they made. The second agreement they made was that if any Muslim in Mecca went to Muhammad, then Muhammad should return him or her back to the Quraysh. So we will not allow with this treaty anybody from us to accept Islam. If they do, we have to return them back to us unless we give him permission to become Muslim. And eventually the Quraysh will not give anybody permission to become Muslim. So Muhammad accepted that. And his companions were so totally furious about that. And they said, if any Muslim come back to Quraysh and reverted from Islam to Kufr, then the Quraysh will not return that person back to Muhammad. And Umar was so mad and he said to the Prophet, are we not on the truth? He said, yes. Then he said, أَنَّا دَنِيَّةٌ لِمَاذَا نَقْبَلُ دَنِيًّا فِي دِينِنَا? Why are we accepting all this nonsense in our religion? This is purely oppression and unfairness. Then Abu Bakr wrote him and put him and said, stop that. Don't you know whom you are speaking to? You are speaking to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Anyway, that's the second one. Every Muslim who went to Quraysh would be returned back to, will not be returned back to the Muslim, and every Quraysh who went to Muhammad would be returned back to the Quraysh. That's the second one. The third one, which is agreement, is that Muslims and Kuffar will stop fighting one another for 10 years. There will be a truce whereby Muslims and Kuffar of Mecca will not fight one another for 10 years. And Muhammad accepted that. And then finally, which is the last one, is that if any tribe wanted to ally with Muhammad, that tribe should be allowed to do so. If any tribe wanted to ally with the Quraysh, those people should be allowed to ally with the Quraysh. And those are the four things that happened in Al-Hudaybiyah. So when you look into all this thing, to us, it doesn't make so much sense. It doesn't make so much profit for the Prophet, for the Muslim. But Muhammad accepted that. And eventually, history has shown that he had a very strong vision, and his ability to accept those compromises was something great. Because within short time, the agreement that the Muslims should be allowed to propagate Islam and speak without any fighting for 10 years gave them the opportunity to reach out to any Arab person in Peninsula, something they didn't have before. Now, they were not afraid that somebody is going to fight them, somebody is going to prepare anything against them, but it gave them the opportunity that, inshallah ta'ala, they will not fight for 10 years. Unfortunately, after 2 years, that thing will happen. SubhanAllah. Now, those are the events that happened, but what lessons are we going to learn from all of these things? And that is the point that where I brought this issue to us today. The first thing we have to learn, subhanAllah, was that when Muhammad was with the companions, Ridwanullahi ta'ala alayhi, anything he did, he was not doing anything from his own pocket. He was being guided by Almighty Allah. وَمَا يَنْتِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا وَحْيٌ يُوحَىٰ. So therefore, whatever decision he made, and if that decision was not corrected by Allah, it means it was a revelation from Almighty Allah. So in that sense, all those things he agreed upon he was being guided by Almighty Allah. And we have to be happy with that. We have a prophet among us. Then whatever decision he made, if he was right, then it will go question, but if not, then the revelation will come and correct it. And that's a blessing from Almighty Allah. So the second lesson we have to learn from that was the vision of the Prophet ﷺ, thinking that the mere fact that the Quraysh accepted to have mediation between them is internally and unconsciously a recognition that the Ummah of Muhammad ﷺ was purely another new community. They recognize that this is another community, these are not Quraysh, these are not Arabs, these are Muslims, and they have their own identity, and now we are going to negotiate with them, and that recognition was something very great in Islam in the beginning of that particular era. So the third lesson we have to learn, subhanAllah, was the patience of the Prophet ﷺ. And I didn't go into detail, but he was making the treaty, and then he said, let us write this treaty and say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. This treaty between Muhammad Rasulullah. And then the ambassador of Quraysh, Suhail bin Amr, said, no, if we have recognized you to be the prophet, we are not going to have any argument today. We didn't recognize you to be a prophet, so you have to write, this treaty is between Muhammad bin Abdullah and the Quraysh, not Rasulullah. And subhanahu wa ta'ala, Muhammad accepted that. Now, whether they recognize him to be a prophet or not, he was a prophet. Whether they agree with him or not, he was a prophet. So he agreed on that side. And Ali said, no, I'm not going to erase it. Then he said to Ali, he was his scribe, he said, show me where you wrote that thing. And then he put a sign on it and indicating to Ali to erase it, and he erased it. Subhanallah. The third thing, which is also very interesting, now when they make this agreement and all of them agree that this is what they are going to do, then the Prophet ﷺ turned back to the companions and said, since we wanted to make Umrah and now we cannot make Umrah, let us undress. They put on the ground before, let us undress. And then when we undress, then you have to shave your head and everything. Then all those things which are not halal for you before will be halal for you. And subhanAllah, the companions was totally disappointed. And he said, well, you know the one who told us that you saw in your dream that you go to Umrah, you go to the Riyadh, and you go to Mecca? And I said, yes. But did I tell you that it must be this year or not? So therefore, the companions didn't listen to him in that very particular thing. Now, he said that to them 3 times, and they didn't follow what he said. Then he went back to his wife, and her name is Salama, and he said to her, Salama, I see something strange today. I was asking this companion to do something, and none of them did it. Abu Bakr was there, Umar was there, Usman was there, Ali was there. He said that to them 3 times, and nobody budged to follow him. And then Salama said, Rasulullah, if you're going to listen to my advice, you go out. And you undress, take off the ihram, and call your barber to shave your head, and when you do that, see what they're going to do. So Muhammad ﷺ went out and he undressed, and then he shaved his head, and then the companions began to shave their heads and undress. Now, what is the point here? Subhanallah. This point is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves us being Muslims, and that men, inshallah, at times or many times, they have to seek advice from their spouses. They have to seek advice from their spouses. How many times I have a wife, you have a wife, and we never listen to them. Never listen to them. I remember myself. My wife says, sorry, go and check up physically. To the doctor, said, no, I'm not sick. Sorry, go and check up. You have been checked up for totally 1 year. I said, no, I'm not going to do that. And always we claim that we know everything more than our wife, and then they have no right whatsoever to give us any advice. And this is your Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, seeking advice from Salama, following that advice, and then the companions follow them, inshallah. So my point here, my brothers and sisters, inshallah ta'ala, there's nothing wrong for you, even though you are the head of the family, to seek advice from the wife and to listen to her in whatever she says. Then you compromise. Anytime you are the only boss in the house, things are going to fall apart. So, but when you compromise, you listen to her, she listens to you, and you agree, then the house is going to be healthy, and things are going to work out very well for both of you. But the minute we say, she's a female, she cannot talk very well, I'm the boss, and I'm always Mr. Right, and she doesn't know how to do this, she didn't get PhD, she didn't get degree, and therefore she has no voice, things are going to fall. This is reality of life. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us and to let us be good Muslim internally and externally. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. So talking about this Hudaybiyah, another lesson we have to learn from this Hudaybiyah is that as Muslims, wherever we are, there's nothing wrong for us that we can negotiate among us and non-Muslims. And we can compromise. Not everything we compromise anything. If somebody says, no, we say you are not Muslim, you don't compromise on that. إِلَّا مَنْ أُكْرِهَا وَقَلْبُهُ مُطْمَئِنٌ بِالْإِيمَانِ. Now, we have so many things going on today, and I give you one example. Just about last week, I gave Khutbah somewhere, and our brothers and sisters say, Islam make it haram for any female to be the head of the state, and therefore, can Muslim contest for presidency in this country of ours, a female? I said, yes. This is administrative something. She's not going to come and Kamala is not going to come and pray for it. Anything in the mosque. This is administration. So when it comes to administration, men can do it and women can do it. When we are talking of Imam and Kubra, Al-Azhar in the community is the one head of the Muslim who takes care of religious issues. When it comes to social affairs today, whatever we call it today, then women can be whatever they want to be. And if we Muslims have vision, then we have to participate in the country that we are living in. If every one of us is saying, oh, America is a country of kufr, country of disbelief, and they are Christian, they are Jewish, we don't want to do anything with them, guess what happens? They come to the position and they make any decision they want to make against us, and we cannot say anything. So therefore, I'm encouraging every one of us, inshallah ta'ala, if you're eligible to vote, please go and vote. And vote according to your own consciousness. Go and vote. This is your right. So we cannot just withdraw and say, we are not living there. And we are living there. Let's face reality. How many years I've been telling you now, oh, I'm going back to Nigeria. She's going back to China. She's going back to Saudi. You never go back. This is our country. So take your time. You have the right to vote, please, and vote. And the more people we have in the administration, the better it is for us. In the beginning, it may not make any difference, but as time goes on, it's going to make a lot of difference. Now, subhanAllah, many of you see nowadays, in London, in Britain today, there are so many mayors who are Muslims. Many mayors in a country which they say never could Christian Muslim be there. And the mayor of London, this time, is Sadiq Khan. He's a Muslim. And when he contested, everybody said he would never win, and he won. Now, I'm not saying he changed everything, but being a Muslim there has its own value. Being a Muslim there has its own value. And I remember myself too, at TCU, where I'm teaching. You would go to a meeting, and then everybody will begin to say any bad thing about Islam. Then I raise my hand. Folks, I'm a Muslim. Before you make your final decision, remember that among us here, we have Muslims. And then they will put that. They will put that. So our existence in our community gives us the ability and the right to participate in the community that we are. And eventually, we are going to make a change. And your Prophet when he went to Medina, Medina was not a Muslim country. So he made it an Islamic country, and within a short time, people of Medina became Muslims. When he went there, Medina was not clean. Then he said to the Muslim, keep this Medina clean, and it became clean. At Medina, Muslims do not have water to drink. Then he said to Usman bin Affan, why can't you buy well for us? And he bought well for the Muslims. So since this is our country, inshallah ta'ala, let us try and participate in our community and do our best to participate in the government. Now, if you like Trump, go ahead. If you like Kamala, go ahead. But if you have right to vote, please go and vote. Don't withdraw. So may Allah bless every one of us, inshallah. Otherwise, whether we like it or not, somebody is going to be the president. And they're going to make their rules against us or for us. But if you are there, it makes it a little bit different. And gradually, we can have a word to say, inshallah ta'ala. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be with every one of us. And I encourage you to go back to Surah Al-Fatih, which talks so much about Hudaybiyah, and read about it and try to understand it. The more we do understand our Islam, the better we are going to become, inshallah ta'ala. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us and to be with us in everything that we are doing. At the same time, there's a prayer here for our brother who is deceased, Brother Khan, he passed away. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive him and to let him go to paradise. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to overlook his shortcomings. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make his grave a place of peace for him, not a place of punishment for him, inshallah ta'ala. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to resurrect him among the Muslims, among the Shuhada, among the Prophets, inshallah ta'ala. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give the family tranquility and peace of mind, and let the time between them and the person who decides to live on, inshallah, so that they can live long life. Then we have our brother Tariq Muhammad, who is also critically sick, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give him shifa. In this sense, anytime we remember our brother and we pray for them, don't think your prayers have been accepted. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give brother Tariq Muhammad your shifa, inshallah ta'ala. نسأل الله العظيم رب العرش العظيم أن يشفيه، 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 شفاء لا يغادر سقما إن شاء الله تعالى. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا أو أخطأنا. ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إصرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا. ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. وصل وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. Now, brothers, finally, before I leave, I would like to comment, inshallah. When we come to the mosque and we want to do something and the khatib is speaking, then we have to respect the khatib that is speaking. At the same time, if you want to correct something, you have to correct it with kindness, with politeness, with something. So we do not come there to fight one another. Even as human beings, we may disagree, but one doesn't know the other. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala